talking with Matt Money Smith here on the Arrowhead Pride Podcast Network. I got one more Chiefs Chargers question for you, one other thing, and we'll get you out of here.
Yep.
What are the Chargers, like, what has to happen in your mind for the Chargers to come out victorious on Sunday? What's the major key to the game that you'll be watching for?
Honestly, Pete, it's score points. It's like they have been moving the ball effectively between the 20s, and they've just been bad in the red zone. And that ain't going to happen. That ain't going to get it done against the Chiefs. You're not kicking field goals and turning the ball over in the red zone, even though, last year, I think what was the final? I think was it 21-7? Was it 2017 or 23-20, whatever the final was last year?
Game,
that first game that they played in week 2.
The Herbert surprise, wild surprise. Yes.
So I think to me, that's the key is, the defense, look, they got gashed on the ground last week, but they bowed up when they had to. The Cowboys, who really put a ton of points, 29 on the board against Tampa in that defense, they were able to hold them to 20. And 3 of those was a 56-yard field goal. So I feel okay about the defense, even though it was a little leaky last week. But they got to score points. They have to execute better in the red zone. And I think the one thing about that is I almost wonder if it's the new offense and play calling in the red zone. And that's something that Joe Lombardi and Justin Herbert have to figure out, because he has not been as sharp in the red zone as he was last year. So that's probably, I think that's the key. If they can score in the red zone, I feel like they can trade punches with this offense, and defensively, kind of watching those first 2 weeks of the Chiefs, not being able to get to the quarterback against a pretty okay offensive line last week, and kind of watching the Browns jump them a little bit. I feel like I think there's going to be a lot of points scored, and both teams better score them, in order to get the win.
Well, it seems like that's become now the recipe to beat the Chiefs. There is one. It's not easy to do. It's being aggressive, limiting total possessions, and as you're saying, just score. You have to score in these types of games. So we'll see if the Chiefs and Chargers exchange blows. Matt, we know that you're on Chargers play-by-play. Talked about you doing some NFL Network hosting. If you are a fan of the entire league, you might have listened to Around the NFL, and you are really the only person who's been on every single episode, seemingly, at the beginning with these money tags. And I was always curious, is this something you knock out like 20 or so in one day? Is it a day-by-day thing? How does that process work?
Yeah, so Erica, Ricky Hollywood, as she goes by on the podcast, she'll just send me an email saying, "Hey, money tags, can you knock them out?" And and yeah, I'll do 20. And thankfully, I don't have to recut the Around the NFL podcast. Like, that's just standard. So I just have to read through all the new, which is nice. There's a pause in there, so I can just plow through all of those. But I love those guys. I remember the birth of Around the NFL. It was, thanks to our friend Dave Damashek, who used to bring those guys in. And that's kind of how I got to meet him, because Dave and I go way back, radio days. We have, common friends, mutual friends, I should say. But Dave was always great about that, and just wanting his podcast to be a big, it's a trunk and there's so many branches, and he would bring all these people in. So it's fun to watch how great and how popular that pod has become, especially in the UK. It absolutely cracks me up that they're as popular as they are in London. It's hilarious to me.
Being Chiefs centric, and just for our listeners, I'm on the go all the time covering the Chiefs. It's the way that I stay connected with the league. It's outstanding. So I hear your voice a lot, at the beginning of those shows. You sometimes pop on when it's a little bit more Charger specific, but let's get you out of here.
Before we go, I also have to mention one other thing.
Sure.
Because it just popped into my brain, and maybe you were being too polite and you didn't want to bring it up, but it was on the Dave Damashek football program that I became infamous for my Patrick Mahomes take when the Chiefs drafted him, saying that I don't get it. It's a team that went to the playoffs last year. They got Alex Smith. There's a team that can win the Super Bowl. What are you drafting a quarterback for?
I wasn't going to do it to you.
I'll do it. It's okay. Not only does he have bad footwork, he's got no footwork, and that thing continues to live. I have 3 daughters that are older. I got a daughter that's a junior in college, a senior in high school, and a freshman in high school. And like a month ago, they came in. They're like, "Dad, you're TikTok famous." And I said, "What do you mean I'm TikTok famous?" And some kid decided to throw it up on TikTok, and it had like a couple million views. I was like, "Yeah, there we go. Your dad's TikTok famous.
Better that than dancing, I think. In your daughter's
That's,
opinion, I'd assume,
no
the
doubt.
dance
Yeah,
TikTok for
no
sure.
doubt. Hey, whatever.